Again, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Village of Bartlett Committee of the Whole meeting for October 6, 2020. I call this meeting to order, and again, please ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Trustee Carbonaro?
Present.
DEYNE?
Here.
Gansey? Here. Hopkins?
Yes.
REINKE?
Present.
President Wallace?
Here. First item we have in our committee meeting this evening is the Building and Zoning. Chairman REINKE.
Thank you, Mr. President. So we have one item, a petition from RANA for a site plan amendment to construct 4 to 8 docks and a new curb cut. Seems to be relatively straightforward. I don't know if Ms. Grill wants to provide any further details. I think it's like I said, I think it's pretty straightforward. It looks like RANA purchased the building next door because they're expanding their business line, and this is going to help bridge. They didn't have enough through docks, so this is really going to help them and be a boost to Brewster Creek.
Right, and they're asking for a site plan amendment, and normally staff can review that administratively, but because the docks are located in the corner side yard, it does require a variation request, and therefore the board and the zoning board have to review it.
Yeah, they let them review it then.
Right.
Yeah. I don't have any issues. Does anybody have any comment?
No.
No comment? All right, so then we'll forward this on to the ZBA and the Plan Commission, and then when it comes back to the Village Board, can we just have it directly up for a vote?
Go directly to the board.
I think that would make sense.
Good motion.
Yes.
All right, thank you, Mr. President. That's all we have for Building and Zoning.
Thank you, Chairman REINKE. Finance and Golf, Chairman DEYNE.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have one item on our agenda tonight, and It's proposed 2020 property tax levy. And with that, I would like to ask Todd if he could go through this with us. And Todd, when I talked to him today on the phone, he promised to keep it to 25 words or less, which is pretty incredible. So, thank you, Todd.
25 minutes?
25 words or less.
All right. Thank you. I'm gonna... I minimized Vince.
Well, thank you, Todd, very much. Really appreciate the presentation you gave us this evening. Does the board have any other questions?
All right, I'm gonna have to take this. I gotta take this off. I don't think you guys can hear me with. Anyway, so tonight is the proposed 2020 property tax levy, and I'll try to. I'll get through this. Again, there's three levies, three purposes. The general fund is funded by the levy part of the general fund, and then the debt service on our bonds, and also our contribution to the police pension fund. The state does a calculation where it's split into the 3 counties. Cook County is up to 39.32%. So this is the first time Cook County has been over 39% of the burden. DuPage is at just over 60%. King County is up to 0.4%. That's up 0.12% from the prior year. So the levy process starts when we pass the budget in April. The budget year begins May 1. So we're into the fall, and that's where we start going over the proposed levy, and then we approve the levy. It needs to be filed with the counties by the end of the year. And then the money is collected. So we're actually funding the 2021 year, but we collect it in 21, the summer and fall of 21. 2020 proposed levy, the total, again, the general corporate levy, $6,433,000. Police pension levy is almost $2,068,000, just under $2,068,000. And then the debt service, $3,098,294. Now, this chart here shows, this is for the truth in taxation purposes. This is the truth in taxation law, where you compare the actual proposed levy with the prior year extension. The difference between the extension and the levy, the extension includes the loss factor. That includes 1% in DuPage County, 3% in Cook County. So that's why it shows the general corporate levy is decreasing compared to the extension, even though it's the same levy as last year. So this is for truth and taxation purposes, but we're not going to dwell on this.
Can I ask you a quick question? That one number that just jumps out at me is the 17% for the police pension, that increase. Could you talk about that a little?
Yeah, I'll be getting into that. I'm just going to give a brief overview here, and then we'll get into the details on the different ones. So here is so your 17%, actually the increase of the levy compared to last year's levy is the $337,000 in the police pension. That's 19%. But so this chart shows the actual levy this year compared to the actual levy last year. So our levy last year, $11,248,000, and this year we're proposing $11,599,000. So the total increase, 3%. So basically, if everything's the same, our property taxes on the bill would, for the village portion, would be 3% higher if everything stayed the same for assessed value and all that. So here's the detail of the debt service levy. 2012 bonds were streets bonds and for stormwater in the northeast section of town. 2016 bonds are police station. 2017 bonds are the fire station refunding. And the 2019 bonds, that includes a bunch of bonds that were refunded in 2009 and then again in 2019, including the Village Hall and some the Kohler Fields, West Bartlett Road. And then the new money was for the sewer project. The $553,900, that's the new money for the sewer project that is being funded by the sewer fund and not by property taxes. That's why it's being abated or removed from the levy. $71,200 for the fire station. The fire district pays their portion that's outside of the village district, and then the Brewster Creek TIF contributes $28,000 to that. So overall, the debt service levy, $3,098,000. Here's the history of the property tax levy. Back in 2010, the general levy was just under $7 million. It's actually down $625,000 from the highest in 2012, the general levy. Police pension has gone from $1,129,000 back in 2010 up to just over $2 million, and then there's debt service, $1,008,000 up to $3,098,000. So in total, from 2010 to 2020, it increased to $2,487,000. These are in your packet, so you can go back and study these. I'm going to go over them kind of quick here. Police pension levy history. Again, it really started going up in 17, 18, 19, 20. It had been going up and down for the years before that. There's also the rate of return over the years. So over the last 11 years, the rate of investment return is just over 6.5%. And one other note on the pension fund. So the law right now is that we're required to be funded at 90% by the year 2040. We're currently at 72.6%. Average in the state is right around 65%. So our fund is well funded compared to the rest of the state. It's not close to the 90% funded that we're shooting for 2040. And currently there's about $46 million in assets. Here's a breakdown on on the number we're looking at, $2,067,903. That required contribution is set by an actuarial report that's completed at the end of every fiscal year. So this report was completed in July of 2020. Last year, you remember that we subsidized, or we paid from the general fund $200,000, and that was to cover some of the increases from the change in mortality tables. So when we updated the mortality tables last year, it caused a large increase in the annual contribution because the new tables extended the life of the annuitants. This year's increase from last year's calculation, $137,000, $80,556 was due to Tier 2 benefit increases. Now, Tier 2 is for police officers hired in 2011 and on, and the benefits were not as good as the current police officer benefits. So this last year, the two increases that they made were death benefits for survivors were made to be the same as the Tier 1 police officers, and the final rate of calculation, their final rate of earnings calculation, originally it was the last 10 years average, and it's been shortened to the last 4 years average. So as you can imagine, the salary's higher the last 4 years than the last 10 years. So that increased their benefit. So that's part of the increase overall. Other reasons for the increase in the contribution is more retirements, one disability, and as we showed earlier, the rate of return was under the 7% that we are shooting for. So that slightly increased it as well. So here's a chart of the equalized assessed value history. We peaked back in 2010. You can see we're still below that number. 1,209,000 is the estimate, and that's estimating about a 3.5% increase. Last year, overall, we were at 6.21% increase from the prior year. Cook County increased 11.9% last year due to being a triannual year. DuPage County has been right around 4% for the last 4 or 5 years. So overall, the estimate is just over 3.5%. That drives the rate. The EAV drives the rate. It doesn't really drive how much people pay, but it is the way that the taxes are spread. So again, the burden percent in Cook County, just over 39%, with the EAV of $427 million. Once you add the loss factor in there, that brings the rate to 1.1%. Last year's rate was about 1.1%, so it's just a tiny fraction of a cent increase going forward. Some of that is due to, so the EAV is going up, the burden is going up a little bit more, and that's why there's just a slight increase and not a decrease. In DuPage County, where the burden was a little bit lower from the prior year, the rate will go down slightly to 90 cents, just over, about 91 cents, and it's gone down just about a penny. So the overall rate, if you take the total EAV, the total levy, 96, 97 cents on the dollar. This is just a breakdown, the pie chart of all the different districts. This is DuPage County. You can see in yellow is the Village Bartlett, 10%. Actually, we're at about 9.9% of the total property tax. Cook County looks a little different, but the village is still just about 10%, 9.83%. So going on from here, we'll advertise the public hearing. We're required to have a public hearing if we're over 5% on that truth in taxation comparison. We're below that number, but we have a public hearing just just to be extra transparent. So we will hold the public hearing on the 20th. We'll also have the board review the estimated levy on the 20th. That needs to be approved 20 days before the budget is approved, and which is going to be the 1st of December. This year is a little unusual. We would have normally done it, reviewed the estimated levy in November, but the first meeting in November is still up in the air. The second meeting in November is not 20 days before the 1st of December. So that's why everything, if it seems early, everything has been shoved up a few weeks than normal. So that is it. That's the tax levy in a nutshell. I didn't get into all of the actuary report. I brought it. It's 40 pages, but we can get that or answer questions if you have on that. You can go forward.
On the police pension, Todd, what is our assumed rate of return? What are we using?
Right now, we're at 7%. We lowered it to 7% last year. The police pension board would like to take it down to 6.5%. We did not do the extra 1/8% down this year. That would increase our levy by 111,000. So it's about 100,000 every time you reduce it at
1/8% at 46 million.
Yeah. Yep. So we're at 7% right now with our assumed rate.
And I think Illinois' suggestion, the Illinois Department of Insurance is 6.5, right?
Yes,
So we're kind of inching our way into that 90% by 2040 by just kind of creeping down there.
We're inching our way, and there's also the pension consolidation that's going on. That's going to consolidate investments from these Article 3 funds within the next 2 years. The purpose of that is to help the pension money realize better returns. So it's going to kind of take the investment decisions out of the local boards, consolidate it more like IMRF, like the state employees.
So actuarially, retired police officers in general are living longer.
That's what the tables are saying.
Yeah. That's a good thing.
It is.
Okay.
Any other?
Anybody else? Todd, I really, really want to thank you. When I saw this was on the agenda this evening, I was really excited. Every year...
Ray, you could have taken us through that. You could have taken us through that.
Every year, I look forward to this meeting. It's always just so exciting.
I had one more question. Just for folks, it could be their first time through the levy, burden calculation. So you're looking at EAVs comparatively, right? So you have an increase in the property values, and Cook County shifted that somewhat.
Yes.
Accurate.
Yeah, we do not do the state calculates the
EAV,
burden factors for every town or every district that's in more than one county.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're basing that off of property value in their particular counties.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of a
formula.
A little bit of that back in the back room thing, but yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. President, that's all we had on the agenda this evening.
Nobody else wants to talk numbers with Todd all night?
No, not really.
I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Second by Trustee DEYNE. Seconded by Trustee Gansey. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Trustee Carbonaro?
Yes.
DEYNE?
Yes.
Sabrina? Gansey?
Gansey, yes.
Hopkins? REINKE?
Yes. We are adjourned.
Nice.
What is a G? You can just say